Hello and welcome. My name is Jackie Gaunt, and I'm the mental health consultant for Leisure Dean Community Center. I will be providing you the onboarding training for the mental health and disability services component areas. Throughout this time, you'll get an overview of the component. You'll learn about the Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA, and the Rehabilitation Act, as well as be provided resources for staff for mental health wellness. An overview of the component. We individualize accommodations and supports as necessary to support the full participation of children with disabilities and mental health concerns. We link children to therapy services, refer children for further evaluation to assess eligibility, determination for services under IDEA, which we'll be learning more about later on in this training. We also assist parents of children with disabilities to become advocates for their children and work in collaboration with family services to ensure that at least 10% of its total funded enrollment is filled by children eligible for services under IDEA. Mental health and disability component staff consist of two different groups. For the delegate program, we have the mental health and disability manager, the licensed mental health professional, a mental health consultant, disability facilitators, the mental health support staff, and a disability floater. For the grantee program, we have a mental health and disability manager, a licensed mental health professional, a mental health consultant, disability facilitators, and a behavior support specialist. So let's look further into what each role the staff member has. The mental health and disability manager ensures that mental health and disability services are being delivered in accordance with Head Start performance standards. They supervise and train mental health disability team, as well as participate in the staff wellness committee. The licensed mental health professional provides and guides individualized services plans to children with challenging behaviors or social emotional concerns in collaboration with teachers and parents. They make referrals for private mental health services and provide training and resources to parents and staff of children with challenging behaviors and social emotional concerns. The licensed mental health professional also conducts classroom observations and prevention site visits, and this staff member is also a member of the staff wellness committee. The mental health consultant assists the program staff with improving system-level outcomes, providing guidance on the agency's policies and procedures, self-assessment, goals and objectives, and program planning. The mental health consultant also provides training and additional supports to staff, as well as does internal monitoring for the grantee program. The disability facilitators, they develop follow-up intervention plans in collaboration with parents and teachers. They conduct monthly follow-up on plans to assess children's progress. They refer children to private services and link those therapeutic services. They assist parents through the evaluation process. They assist parents with becoming advocates for their children. They also collaborate with community partners to monitor effectiveness of services and ensure that disability services are being provided as indicated on the child's IFSP or IEP, which we'll learn more about later. The behavior support specialist is a staff member that only the grantee has. This staff works directly with teachers and staff to assist with minimizing challenging behaviors in the classroom and provides assistance to children with special needs with the direct guidance from the licensed mental health professional. The behavior support specialist also conducts general classroom observations to support effective classroom management and positive learning environments. This staff member conducts monthly follow-up to gather updates on child's progress with the implementation of the follow-up intervention plan with social emotional goals and maintains the mental health caseload. The mental health support staff and the disability floater are positions that are for the delegate program. These staff members provide assistance to the mental health and disability component, including clerical work, walk-in therapy, and they work with the community partners to ensure compliance with service delivery to children who are receiving therapeutic services on site. So the mental health and disability component receives internal referrals from 3 different components. Although we all work as a team, each component provides a different set of referrals. From the family service component, we start off with the family application. When a parent is first enrolling their child into the program, this is an opportunity for parents to discuss any developmental concerns or behavior concerns they have for their child. During the family assessment questionnaire, which is completed within 30 days of the child's enrollment, this is another opportunity with questions geared towards the parent to identify whether there are any concerns for the child's behavior or development. And at any time throughout the year, parents can discuss their concerns with a family service staff, which will provide an internal referral to the mental health and disability component for follow-up. Another component that we receive referrals from is the health component. The health component reviews physical exams and medical documents that could identify if a physician has diagnosed a child with a developmental delay, a disability, or with a behavior concern. They also submit referrals to the mental health and disability component for further follow-up. Along with that, within 45 days of a child being enrolled in our program, we screen them for vision and hearing, and the health component will also identify if there are any referrals needed for the mental health and disability follow-up. The last component that we receive referrals from are from education. Education referrals come from teacher observations, screening concerns, and also parent concerns regarding a child's development or behavior. At this point or any time in the year, they can provide internal referrals for the mental health and disability component to follow up on. So the mental health and disability staff, once there is a concern identified and an internal referral is received, they will meet with the parent and the teacher in order to develop a follow-up intervention plan. If a follow-up intervention plan is created, the goals are carried out by the teacher in the classroom and the parents in the home. Monitoring of the plan implementation and child's progress is conducted monthly by the disability facilitators or the behavior support specialists. If additional concerns are noted or the goals on the plan are achieved, an additional meeting is requested with the parent by appropriate staff to update the plan as needed. Additional services for children who have concerns. All parents of children with developmental concerns will be offered a referral to Fiddlers or Early Steps. If the parent provides consent, the referral is submitted and disability staff will assist the parents through the evaluation process. While pending further evaluation from Early Steps or Fiddlers, the individualized follow-up intervention plan is implemented in the classroom and in the home, and the child is referred to a local agency to receive additional support services. This is all done with parent consent. These additional support services can include physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, or mental health counseling. If the child meets eligibility for disability services under IDEA, an individualized education plan, also known as an IEP, or an individualized family support plan, which is also known as an IFSP, will be developed and the child will receive services as indicated on that plan. IDEA stands for Individuals with Disability Education Act, and it was first passed in 1975. The primary purpose of IDEA is to guarantee access to a free, appropriate public education environment for every child with a disability. This law requires children to be evaluated free of charge to determine if the child is eligible for disability services. If found eligible, an IFSP or an IEP will be developed to address the child's needs. Subsequent amendments, as reflected in the idea, have led to an increased emphasis on access to the general education curriculum, the provision of services for young children from birth through 5, transition planning, and accountability for the achievement of students with disabilities. The idea upholds and protects the rights of infants, toddlers, children, and youth with disabilities, and also including their families. IDEA gives parents or legal guardians a voice in their child's education. Under IDEA, parents have a say in the decision that school makes about their child. At every point in the process, the law gives parents and children specific rights and protections. Our goal is to help parents become advocates for their children by understanding their rights covered under IDEA. The Americans with Disability Act, also known as ADA, became law in 1990. The ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disability in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. The purpose of the law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. The Americans with Disability Act gives civil rights protections to individuals with disabilities similar to those provided to individuals on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, age, and religion. Other laws for children with disabilities include Section 504 in the Rehabilitation Act. This addresses protections for students with disabilities. Section 504 is a federal law designed to protect the rights of individuals with disabilities in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. Section 504 states, no otherwise qualified individual with a disability in the United States shall solely by reason of her or his disability be excluded from the participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Our program is a program that receives federal financial assistance, and our program prohibits denying enrollment simply because a child has a disability. Head Start regulations require that at least 10% of enrollees are children with disabilities. So the likelihood that you will have a child with a disability enrolled in every single classroom is very high. Head Start Performance Standard 1302.61a indicates that programs must ensure all individuals with disabilities are protected from discrimination under and provided with all services and program modifications required by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and their implementing regulations. Included in our Head Start performance standards is staff wellness. Les Jardins supports staff wellness, and this indicates that a program must make mental health and wellness information available to staff regarding health issues that may affect their job performance, and must provide regularly scheduled opportunities to learn about mental health, wellness, and health education. We have a staff wellness committee who will be providing different activities throughout the school year for all staff to learn about mental health and also to participate in wellness activities to help increase their wellness or enhance their wellness. Mental health. Your mental health influences how you think, feel, and behave in daily life. It also affects your ability to cope with stress, overcome challenges, build relationships, and recover from life's setbacks and hardships. Strong mental health isn't just the absence of mental health problems. Being mentally or emotionally healthy is much more than being free of depression, anxiety, or other psychological issues. Rather than the absence of mental illness, mental health refers to the presence of positive characteristics within oneself. So as part of life, we all experience some type of stress. Stress is an emotional or physical reaction to a physical, psychological, or emotional demand. We all show stress in different ways. Some stress is good. It motivates us to turn in our documents on time. Too much stress is not good and can have short-term or long-term effects on our health. Some things that cause stress are expectations we place on ourselves, expectations that others place on us, our physical environments, which could include noise level, room size, or crowding, and our internal environment, which is what goes on inside of us, which is work pressures, frustrations, and not having enough time to do things. All of these can cause some type of stress within an individual. Some symptoms of stress could include an increased heart rate and blood pressure, feeling tense, irritable, fatigued, or depressed, lack of interest or inability to concentrate, racing thoughts, or worrying too much, or also avoidance behaviors of these stressors, which include excessive alcohol, cigarette smoking, and drug use. There are certain ways that we can manage stress, and not everything works for everyone, but here are some suggestions. Practice effective communication. State feelings in a clear way using I messages. Owning your feelings are very important to help express the way you're feeling inside. An example could be, I feel angry when you yell at me. Also, establishing me time is making time to enjoy hobbies that you enjoy. Another way to manage stress would be practicing specific stress reduction techniques. These can include learning relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, muscle relaxation, and meditation. Here are some daily strategies to reduce stress. Some we touched upon in the previous slide. You can create a consistent routine, eating a well-balanced diet. You could also maintain a regular bedtime and shut off all screen time 2 hours prior to sleeping. You can express your feelings, talking to friends and peers, and avoiding gossip and hurtful conversations. Writing in a journal can also be beneficial in expressing your feelings if you don't want to share those with others. Establishing that me time is very important. This can be creating a time each day to relax, treating yourself to simple pleasures in life, and pairing enjoyable activities or tasks with less enjoyable activities or tasks. So an example of this could be if cleaning your house isn't necessarily enjoyable to you, but listening to music is enjoyable to you, you can put on the music while you clean your house to help you get through that difficult task. Practicing specific stress reduction techniques could be focusing what you are in control of, and recognizing that you can't change what is out of your control, and decreasing negative self-talk. This is the inner talk that we have within ourselves. So instead of thinking negatively, you change that thought to something more positively. An example here is, my paperwork will never get turned in. Instead of having that negative self-talk, you can change that to say, I may not be keeping up now, but my paperwork will get turned in if I can set aside 15 minutes a day to work on it. That's a more positive way of looking at something that may be difficult to achieve. For more information on understanding mental health and accessing mental health interventions, please contact either Heather Garcia, the Human Resource Director, Dr. Mary, the licensed mental health professional, or Jackie Gaunt, the mental health consultant. Thank you so much for your time, and once again, welcome to Les Jardins.